Good morning. Welcome to Saturday morning meditation. We're going to start with 3 7-line prayer. Organ yogi numjan sam pemage sardompola yatsen chogi ngorugne pemajong ne jesurak kordu kandro mangpokor ketki jesu dak drupki jinji lop chia sheksu so guru pema city home. Organ yogi numjan sam pemage sardompola yatsen chogi ngorupne pemajong ne jesurak kordu kandro mangpokor ketki jesu dak drupki jinji lop chia sheksu so guru pema city home. Organ yogi numjan sam pemage sardompola yatsen chogi ngorupne pemajong ne jesurak kordu kandro mangpokor ketki jesu dak drupki jinji lop chia sheksu so guru pema city home. Okay, and then let's take a moment to remember our motivation for being here today. It's always important when we begin an activity to start by establishing a proper motivation of compassion for all sentient beings. So, our motivation determines the direction of our actions. So even if an action looks good on the outside, if it's internally motivated by selfish desires, then that good-looking action is not going to have such a good-looking result. So it's important to always start by establishing a proper motivation so that our actions are actually of benefit. So let's take a moment to do that. And I think we can consider that or make the wish that what we do today, our meditation here together, will bring immeasurable benefit not only to ourselves, but to all sentient beings. The meditation that we'll be doing today is called Shamatha meditation or Shine meditation. And this is based on Jetsama's book, Stabilizing the Mind, which is a really great primer on meditation. It teaches meditational technique to develop spaciousness in the mind. And it kind of gradually progresses you along the stages of this meditation. So it's a very accessible book. Highly recommend reading this book if you'd like to dive deeper into your meditation practice. So Jetsama has taught that meditation is the natural state of mind when it is relaxed, stable, and open. And meditating in this way trains our mind to be both calm and relaxed while also being alert and wakeful. So meditation can be a very relaxing thing to do. It's a lot of times people do it specifically to de-stress or relax. But it's important to remember that we're not just trying to chill out in meditation, we're also trying to wake up. So even though meditation might be relaxing and you might feel like it might kind of make you feel sleepy, you don't want to give into that. We're actually trying to wake up. So this meditation is, the point of it is actually to create space in the mind. And creating space in the mind gives us room to balance our emotions, and it gives us space between actions and reactions. And it really relieves our own mental suffering quite a lot. If you think about the experience that you have when you get flooded with emotion, when you have a very strong emotion, it feels like it sucks all the air out of the room. Like it can be really consuming to have a strong emotion of anger or sadness um, or even joy or happiness. It can feel really um, uh, like that's your whole experience. Um, and of course, we don't mind it when it's happiness, but when it's anger or sadness or an unpleasant emotion, it can just be really overwhelming to just the feeling of inseparability between yourself and the emotion, the feeling that that this is like your whole experience is this anger. That can be really that can cause a lot of suffering for us. And so having this space in the mind, creating space in the mind, then helps us to see that we are not our emotions. We are not our thoughts. We can see our thoughts and emotions come up in our experience and understand that we're not them, they're not us, that's not our nature. And so it gives us a little bit more space then to allow that emotion or thought to come up and let go. And this practice that we do in meditation of allowing our experience to move through us like that, then we can carry that into our lives. And it really improves our own experience of our minds a lot, to have that space. And then with that space, we can also have room to act from our better selves and to make better decisions and not be giving into our unconscious habits, that are, that cause us to lash out in anger or say something out of jealousy or take something out of greed. And, instead of acting on those habits with a little bit of space, we can actually choose our response. Um, and that's very empowering. And and this space in the mind is also the first step in the development of bodhicitta, which is the compassionate wish to free all sentient beings from suffering. And you can see how that would be, because how can you even have any room in yourself to consider the suffering of sentient beings and wish to free them from that suffering if you feel like your entire experience is your own thoughts and emotions and you're so overwhelmed by your own experience? How can you possibly think of the experience of others? So the first thing we need to do is give ourselves some space, open up some space in ourselves, and then we can really open our heart to others. So so take a comfortable seat. You can sit cross-legged on the floor, on a cushion or something to support your back. Or you can also sit in a chair with your feet on the floor. And however you're sitting, just place your hands in your lap, gently relaxed. And check in with your posture. So we're going to sit straight up, and you can imagine a thread going up your spine and out the top of your head, and just pull that thread a little bit so that you're sitting straight up. Your spine is like a stack of coins. Your head resting on your neck, resting on your spine. And your shoulders are open. Your elbows are out a little bit. So we're not collapsed in on ourselves. We're really sitting up straight and open, but also our muscles are relaxed. And your eyes are going to remain open, but looking gently downward. It'll probably look like my eyes are closed just because of the angle of the camera, but they're open. So you can imagine another line going down the bridge of your nose, down, down, down to the floor. And then just rest your gaze somewhere along that line, wherever it's comfortable to rest your gaze there. Just find a point to look at. And then lastly, you're going to place the tip of your tongue gently behind your front teeth. And then just breathe naturally in your natural rhythm. And you're going to put a very light attention on your breathing. Don't try to control it at all. Just breathe naturally with the most gossamer thin attention on your breath. It's like taking your pulse. Don't put pressure on it or try to change it in any way. Just observe it. Your attention is like a feather, gently riding on the surface of your breath. And when thoughts come up, as they are bound to do, just let them go like bubbles popping on the surface of a pond. You don't even have to look to see what they are. When the thought comes up, just let it pop. Let it go. Your meditation is not lost by hearing your thoughts, but by following them down the road. So when you find yourself following a thought, you've forgotten about your breath and you're following a thought, just let that thought go and come back to your breath. And if it's really difficult for you to dismiss your thoughts, you could imagine picking them up with tongs and dropping them, or you could imagine cutting them up with scissors and throwing them away. But you always return to that single-pointed concentration on your breath. Just return again and again to the gossamer thin attention on your breath. We'll meditate for 5 minutes for our first round. So doing that meditation, even just for 5 minutes, is really beneficial to the mind. This is a very easy meditation to fit into our day somewhere for just 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 1 minute. Even just focusing on your mind focusing your mind on your breath for just 3 breaths in the heat of a intense moment can really help to give you that spaciousness, and kind of ease those habitual reactions. This practice was actually the Buddha's favorite practice. Focusing on his breath was the Buddha's favorite practice. So it seems it's a very simple practice, but it's also sophisticated because there's actually a lot built into this practice. There's a lot of particular benefits to it, and a lot that you learn by engaging in this practice on a regular basis. Even just the fact that our body is creating a stable base by being in this meditation posture. It creates a stable base for the mind, and then that's something that we can bring into our other practices, knowing that by being aware of our body, we can help stabilize our mind. And something that we often don't think about with meditation, with like just breath meditation, I think is the practice of renunciation. Renunciation is very important in the Buddhist path, and it's something that we talk about in relation to other practices. But with breath meditation, because it's so, I feel like at the moment the discourse around breath meditation is mostly focused on personal relaxation and relieving stress, and there's less conversation about the spiritual benefits of it. But you can do this meditation whether you're Buddhist or not, but on the Buddhist path, this meditation is particularly important. It's really a starting place in our practice. And one of the ways that it helps us when we're beginning to practice is by the practice of renunciation. So when we're focusing on our breath, we're not focusing on the world and all the worldly things that we normally fill our heads with. And so we are renouncing them for the amount of time that we are meditating. We are renouncing those concerns, those worldly concerns. We're renouncing worrying about what we're going to wear tomorrow. We're renouncing thinking about that thing we could have said better in the argument we had last week. We're renouncing, our hopes and fears and all of our designs for the world and our lives, and we are letting go of all of that for 5 minutes while we focus on our breath. And this practice of renunciation is so important because at the time of death, we have to leave everything behind. And so it's very important that we learn how to let go before we die. And this is one way that we can start releasing that a bit, is by taking a break from our worldly concerns, letting it go, say, I'm not going to worry about any of that. I'm going to keep my mind on my breath. No matter how much my mind yells at me and says, I really need to think about this other thing, I'm going to focus on my breath. And, at the time of death, that will be a skill that you'll want to have, because you'll want to be able to focus on directing your consciousness the way that you want to at the time of death. And you're going to want to focus on that dying process and not on the things you're leaving behind and anything unfinished and the things that keep you trapped in samsara. So even just 5 minutes of meditation a day, this is really a very important practice, and there's a lot going on. There's a lot of spiritual qualities that we are working on by just focusing on our breath. And also, speaking of the time of death, that's also it's also very important to have this spaciousness in our mind at the time of death as well. So, so as Buddhists, we always think about death, and so this meditation is very important for that. And but it also improves your life in the here and now. So let's try meditating again. I'm going to do another round of meditation. getting over a cold and still, sorry for my cough. I'm going to set the timer for a little bit longer this time. So, okay. Got our timer. So we're going to resume our meditation posture, sitting with our straight back. Back is straight. Spine is like a stack of coins. Your shoulders are open. Your rib cage has room to breathe. Your muscles are relaxed. Your hands are resting gently in your lap. And allow yourself to relax completely and breathe normally in your natural rhythm. And then put a very light attention on your breathing. Don't try to control it at all. Just put the most gossamer thin attention on your breath. It's like taking your pulse. You don't put any pressure on it, just observe it. Your attention is like a feather, gently riding on the surface of your breath. Okay, so that's our meditation for today. So we're going to end with some dedication prayers. Just pull those up. Oh, here they are. Okay. Throughout my many lives and until this moment, whatever virtue I have accomplished, including the merit generated by this practice, and all that I will ever attain, this I offer for the welfare of sentient beings. May sickness, war, famine, and suffering be decreased for every being, while their wisdom and compassion increase in this and every future life. May I clearly perceive all experiences to be as insubstantial as the dream fabric of the night, and instantly awaken to perceive the pure wisdom display in the arising of every phenomenon. May I quickly attain enlightenment in order to work ceaselessly for the liberation of all sentient beings. Buddhas and Bodhisattvas altogether, whatever kind of motivation you have, whatever kind of beneficial action, whatever kind of wishing prayers, whatever kind of omniscience, whatever kind of life accomplishment, whatever kind of benevolent power, and whatever kind of immense wisdom you have, similarly I, who have come in the same way to benefit beings, pray to attain these qualities. By this effort, may all sentient beings be free of suffering. May their minds be filled with the nectar of virtue. In this way, may all causes resulting in suffering be extinguished, and only the light of compassion shine throughout all realms. Okay, thank you. I hope to see you again next week.